Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to continue to have a look at the extremely cold weather we do have that is coming up this week and is likely to now last all the way into the middle of the month. It could even last longer than that, but that's where we have certainty really. So around the 15th of December it's highly likely we stay well below average, and for a lot of that period it looks like we'll be cold enough for ice, snow, and widespread freezing cold temperatures. So in today's video we'll go through the live radar, have a look at the precipitation, and at the moment, as we do have easterly winds coming in, but nothing too cold compared to what's coming through Wednesday and Thursday. We'll have a look at the weather warnings, so we still have a snow warning issued for Scotland for Wednesday, and I do suspect we'll see more snow warnings issued after that, and then we'll have to start look at the precipitation charts. We'll have a look at the UKV, the ICON, and the GFS run. Have a look at the potential for snow over the course of the next week or so, and then we'll have a look at the longer range, the GFS, GEM, EastMWF, and the ensembles. As at the moment, a lot of the wintriness we could see this week will be convection based. Maybe apart from early hours of Thursday, we've got an area of snow potentially moving from northern England southwards. But something we've got to keep an eye on the longer range models is features and weather fronts bumping in from the southwest, which could become a feature the following week. So around sort of the 10th, 12th of December point, then we could start to see these weather fronts bumping in, and that could give more significant snow more widely. Whereas at the moment, a lot of the wintriness coming this week could be significant in places, but it's most likely going to be convection based. So it's going to be very hit and miss. So we'll have a look at that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in description. So if you do start on the live radar, you can see we've got brisk easterly winds at the moment, and you can see there are some snow showers over the course of higher ground, but most areas it is rain, and you can see it's actually coming quite far inland. In fact, a lot more than the models have predicted. So again, this is one thing we have to take into account, that some of the models later this week are showing snow showers not coming too far inland, but most likely they will drift quite far inland at times. So it's going to be very difficult to decipher that. But yeah, brisk easterly winds at the moment. If this was a couple of degrees colder, this air mass, this would all be falling as snow. We could see quite high accumulations, especially across northern England. But all at rain at the moment, quite a cold wind chill, and feeling not particularly pleasant out there at all. But those winds are veering more northerly over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours, with much colder air coming in. And you can see, if we put it on the temperatures, as of around 3 p.m, the peak of the day, most areas are mostly blue with a little bit of a tinge of yellow, sort of mid to high single digits in the south, maybe 6, 7, 8 degrees, but across Scotland hardly getting above the low single digits, widely lighter blues, showing very cold. And the air is going to be originating all the way from the Arctic, from the Norwegian Sea up towards Greenland and Svalbard over the course of the next couple of days, and that's going to be turning us a lot colder indeed. Do expect to be seeing lighter blues across the whole of the British Isles, and potentially some of these pinks and purpley colours showing temperatures well below freezing coming up over the course of the next week or so, especially overnight. It is going to be turning extremely cold. The snow, on the other hand, the precipitation is the big thing we are going to be deciphering today. So we do have a look at the weather warnings. We do have a snow warning still. We've had this for a couple of days now, and I do expect to see more warnings issued over the course of the next few days as well. From the whole of Wednesday, again, snow showers may bring some travel disruption, 2 to 5 centimetres, lower levels 5 to 10 centimetres above 200 metres. You may be thinking, why have we not seen any more warnings issued? This was put out well in advance, and the reason really for that will be the same reason why I'm saying there's so much uncertainty at the moment. The Met Office will be having a look at very similar data, and they'll be able to see how uncertain it is where the positioning of showers will be, little systems as well. Even as soon as Wednesday or Thursday, there's some models showing some moderate snowfall for some areas, and other models showing literally nothing. And remember, we've got very cold air around cold ground like this. A lot of the snow will be settling, and the difference between no snow and a couple of centimetres of snow, even though in reality it's not that much of a difference, that could cause quite a little quite a lot more travel disruption between a couple centimetres of slushy, icy snow and just a few little showers here or there. It can make quite a big difference. So even though on sort of the meteorological scale it's a very small difference between a persistent band of a couple hours of snow or just on and off showers, it's not that much different in terms of the actual weather, but in conditions of the surface, it can make big differences. So I think that's why they're holding off at the warnings at the moment. So we do now go over to the UKV and have a look at that is showing over the course of the next 5 days in terms of precipitation and the temperature. Now after he runs this afternoon, as of around 3 p.m, you can see those showers are pushing in from the east, but on the live radar they were much more numerous and intense than the UKV is showing. And this is why I said at the start of the video, you always have to take these precipitation charts when they're convection based with a pinch of salt, because these showers in reality are drifting much further inland, more widely. There are a few across the North Midlands drifting inland on the UKV, but in reality, a lot more of them are pushing inland quite widely, and they are heavier and more numerous. And again, when it's just raining like this and just on and off a few showers, you don't take notice. But if it was snow and it started to settle, then we would take notice between the big differences here between the UKV and the live radar. So that is something we do need to keep an eye on when we have a look at these charts. Now, over the course of this evening, those showers will continue, but they will slowly start to peter away. You do see the wind now veering more from the north, which will mean that colder air is filtering in, and by Tuesday, Scotland is going to be really quite cold, and you can see snow starting to fall, especially over the higher ground, but more over lower ground as well through Tuesday afternoon. Showers pushing in across the North Sea coasts as well. Tuesday night doesn't look like it's going to be freezing cold in the south, but the north will be very cold. By Wednesday afternoon, that colder air is flooding in, and you can see that by the snow shower intensity across Scotland increasing rapidly. And that's why we've got that yellow warning issue. It could be a lot of snowfall there, and that's just because the colder air mass coming in, a lot more instability, a lot more showers. Now, through Wednesday, that initial area of snow is associated with the polar front, so that is the dividing line between the cold air we have now and the proper Arctic air. And it's not normally hugely intense, but it can provide a few hours of precipitation, some heavier precipitation along it, and it could drop a few centimetres of snow. Now the UKV here has that little bit of instability moving through parts of Wales and in the North Sea through Thursday. A bit of snow over the high ground of Wales and maybe southwest England. Elsewhere just continues to be convection based. However, as we see in the other models in a minute, they're showing much more widespread snow across central England. So that is why I said only 2 or 3 days away, there's still huge amounts of uncertainty. You see by Friday evening, showers pushing in across North Sea coasts and across parts of the Irish Sea coast and generally western parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland. And again, these showers will drift further inland, most likely than this is making it out to be. And as we head into Saturday, again, a lot of these showers pushing in, and they could come further inland than this is showing. Again, we've still got to decipher little features that could develop at very short notice. So even though, yes, most of the inland areas are not seeing snow on here, it could develop over the course of the next couple of days. And of course, if you don't see snow overnight and don't see the cloud and the precipitation, look at that, clear skies, those temperatures will plummet. Now, if we do have a look at the dew points, that will give us indication. You can see widely below freezing, just showing how dry and cold the air is. Anything falling out of the sky will be snow. And you can see that stark contrast to now, even though it's cold air mass at the moment, dew points around 1 to 4 degrees, it's going to be almost 10 degrees colder. If you look at the 850 HPA temperatures, you can see at the moment it's around that -4, -5 region, so cold, but wait until Wednesday and Thursday time, you'll be able to see that cold air plunging in from the north, and it will be turning bitterly cold, as I have repeatedly said. You can see that -8, -9, if not -10 ice firm coming through, and you can see as we head towards Saturday, we're just established under that very cold air mass around the -6 to -8 degrees at 850 HPA, just completely over the top of us, and it just means anything falling out of the sky will be wintry of nature, and the temperatures in the day and night will most likely be in around that freezing point, and overnight probably well below freezing. If you look at the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon those temperatures peaking around that 6 to maybe 8 degree mark in the south, more likely low single digits or freezing in the north. Overnight temperatures not going to drop away too much tonight, maybe 4 or 5 degrees in the south, more towards freezing in the north with clearer skies, and into Tuesday afternoon you can see those temperatures in the south slightly colder, maybe 4, 5, max 6 or 7, and in the north more towards freezing. And as we head into Wednesday as well, overnight temperatures well down towards freezing, especially further westwards and northwards, because further eastwards we've still got a bit of a cloud, so we still have a little bit of an easterly flow there. But by Wednesday afternoon, you can see those temperatures do rise in the south to maybe 2 to 4 degrees, but further northwards widely freezing or lower, even at low-lying areas and coastal areas as well, hardly getting above freezing. And look at that overnight into Thursday, look at those temperatures plummeting to maybe -4 to -6 degrees down the spine of the country, even to southern England, -4 or -5. And of course, as I said, if we see that area of snow move down from the north that we'll see in the icon and the GFS in a minute, that the UKV didn't show, it would readily settle onto all these surfaces as it is -5 degrees overnight. Into Wednesday, look at those temperatures hardly getting above freezing, maybe 1, 2 or 3 degrees in the far south and the west, where the cold air hasn't quite fully reached yet, or the coldest air hasn't, but widely in central, northern and eastern areas it is freezing. And through Thursday night, look at that widely -2 to -4 degrees, if not -5, -6, or even -8 through some areas of England and Wales, extremely cold. And into Friday morning, you can see very cold again, and Friday during the day, widely freezing, extremely cold conditions, and that continues all the way into Saturday, where temperatures overnight once again most likely dropping down into the mid-minus single digits, if not maybe -10 or lower in Scotland. Extremely cold conditions coming up. That's the big emphasis, at least for the first few days of this colder spell, is going to be the temperatures. There will be snow around, but the biggest impact from this will be the ice, the frost, and the just bitterly cold feel temperatures out there. It will be very cold on the thermometer, and of course when you add on the northerly winds, it is going to feel absolutely Arctic-like conditions out there. Truly, truly cold. So if we do go over to the icon one, we'll just have a look at the precipitation from this. Now if we do move out towards Wednesday time, just when the snow starts to fall in Scotland, you can see widely snow over higher ground in Scotland and falling to lower levels through Wednesday as well. And you can see that area of snow drifting through central England. And that move southwards could dump a few centimetres of snow, maybe up to 5 centimetres of snow, maybe an inch or 2 of snow, which, as I said, falling onto freezing surfaces in the morning could cause disruption on Thursday. But the UKV didn't develop this really at all. Beyond that, the showers stay mostly, or the snow stays mostly near coastal areas, but could drift inland as well at times. And again, we'll have to see exactly how far inland it comes, and whether we see any features start to develop through Friday and Saturday. If we have a look at the GFS as well, for precipitation, we do move through Wednesday again, snow across Scotland. That area of snow moves down central England, quite widespread snow there. That could drop again a few centimetres of snow through central areas, and eventually we see more little features moving inland. Look at that across northern England, maybe the Midlands there, snow moving inland, and again through Friday, snow in more central areas, drifting further and further inland, and we see that continue through Saturday. Small features trying to spiral up from the south, giving snow further inland, and that just continues all the way through. And you can just see how maybe through Monday, Tuesday, when the flow starts to sort of rotate around, we see that wind direction coming more from an easterly at times, and that could push more snow inland as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on that in the longer term. Of course, we're getting towards sort of day 10 territory here, but still snow falling inland all the way to day 10, just showing you how sustained and locked in this cold pattern will be. So we've had a look at the precipitation charts. You can see there is going to be snow around, especially for coastal areas in the north, east, and even in the west. And there could be that band of snow that moves through central areas through early hours of Thursday. But that's really the only snow risk we have over the course of the sort of the short range models the next 5 days up until really Friday time. Beyond that, as we saw from the GFS run, there's more risks as the flow starts to change direction and more little low pressure systems could develop. And of course, in the real longer range, from day 7 to day 10, we could see weather fronts bump up from the south, as we'll see in a minute from the pressure charts. But the biggest risk I do think from this, at least for the first few days, for at least this working week, will be those very cold temperatures. So please do take care out there. So if you now have a look at the GFS and see what that is showing, you can see, of course, the northerly wind pushing at the moment, starting to bring in extremely cold air, and it just takes over. You can see by the end of this week, we're still in a northerly flow, but eventually, all those lower heights sit over the top of us by the weekend. That could spiral in more showers, slower areas of snowfall and instability that could produce quite significant snowfall. Eventually, in the longer term for the GFS, we actually start to pull in easterly winds once again. We see small little lows spiraling around the cold air, and that could give more significant snowfall. Eventually, in the longer term, though, weather fronts do push up from the south, and that again could bring heavy snowfall for eventually bringing milder air right into the longer term, but they're still blocking to our north, so it's very probable and a real potential there for the colder pattern to continue, perhaps even towards the Christmas period, dare I say. So, yeah, first half of December looking insanely cold. Compared to average and compared to what we've had for the last decade, really cold December coming up here. And of course, with more of those low pressure systems mixing in with that colder air, we are likely to see more areas of snow in the medium to longer range. Now, if we do have a look at the GEM, see how that does compare again. Northerly wind pushing in at the moment, very cold conditions starting to take over, and then that northerly wind completely consumes us. We stay under very cold air. You see blocking to our north, trying to pull an easterly wind in longer term. And you can see a small little low pressure system down to the southeast through Monday. That could spiral in quite a bit of snow for eastern areas. And as we head beyond that, we stay in a real cold easterly wind with this big block. Low pressure is trying to run up from the southwest, and it just stays to our south. We're in a cold easterly wind, and where that dividing line between milder and colder air is, by next Thursday, there could be significant snow. So again, as I said earlier, yes, the next sort of 5 days, the predominant problem we'll have is the cold temperatures. There will be snow around, but I'm not expecting anything widely significant. No amber or even red warnings issued at all. Yellows, yes. But if we did start to see these sort of patterns, low pressure driving to our south, maybe more easterly flows coming in, which is a more moist direction for most of the British Isles, because a northerly wind, a lot of Scotland takes a lot of the moisture coming in off the North Atlantic. So if we see more easterly, that would bring more showers further inland. And of course, if we see these lows bump up from the south or spiral in the southeast, that could give more widespread snow as well. And that's something that could come from that sort of 5 to 10 day time frame. But it's so uncertain, as we've seen from these runs. And you can see even the UKV, the icon in the GFS, didn't agree with snowfall for Thursday, let alone coming Saturday, Sunday or Monday time. So again, it's one of those where we'll just have to see what happens, but regardless, it will be extremely cold, and any precipitation that falls in this sort of pattern would be snow. If we do finish for the longer range models by having a look at the ECMWF, see how that does compare. Again, northerly winds trying to push in at the moment. They eventually completely consume us, and lower pressure completely takes over by the end of this week. Lower heights over the top of us, so those showers, as I said, will become slow moving and would become further inland as well with lower pressure. Eventually, though, we do see a low pressure system trying to push up from the south and the west, but actually northerly winds take back over and we stay very cold all the way to the 15th of December and look like we can go back into another even colder pattern with the -10 isotherm, maybe the -15 isotherm trying to plunge towards the UK. So extremely cold conditions staying and remaining there from the eastern WF. Again, if we see all that low pressure trying to nudge up from the southwest, again, that could give more heavy snow for parts of the UK. So again, all three runs today showing very cold, locked in weather all the way to potentially day 10 and beyond, and some of them going beyond that, some of them breaking it down, but yes, definitely a locked in colder pattern here, not just a couple of days of colder spell, not a little northerly toppler, not a brief easterly wind. This is a proper locked in cold spell, something we haven't actually seen in quite a while. Nearest thing you could say was February 2021, where we saw locked in easterly winds for about 4 or 5 days. And then previous to that, you'd probably go back to the beast from the east, where we saw proper northern blocking and locked in cold pattern. And this is likely to probably last longer than the beast from east, which was around widely for about 5 days. This is likely to be around for at least 7, maybe longer. If we do finish by having a look at the ensembles, you can see from the GFS ensembles, this is for London, remember, this is further southwards, sort of areas that would first see the milder air. So if you are in the North Midlands, Northern England, Scotland, you'd probably have another day, a few days on London, if not hanging on to that cold air all the way to the end of this run. You can see the ensemble members only start to really pick up properly around the 15th of December, and they trend more towards average, but there's still plenty of runs keeping us very cold. So this is why I say from now until probably middle of December, we're pretty much locked in terms of cold weather. And yeah, looks extremely cold and blocked. And yeah, potentially snowy as well. If you put on the 2 meter temperatures, you'll be able to see that those temperatures from around Wednesday, where we could see highs of maybe 4 or 5 degrees, it looks likely to not see anything above 5 degrees, maybe until a week on Thursday, the 15th, and even then, most members are still at 3 or 4 or lower, and most are. We just got a few milder Ensemble members keeping us up, but a good week, maybe longer, of temperatures in around 1 or 2, if not freezing for areas further northwards, where we have snow cover and things like that. And again, we can see this even better emphasised on the dew points, which just shows you if we're in an Arctic air mass, if it's below freezing. You can see we're below freezing here from the average from pretty much Wednesday all the way until the 16th, 17th of December. So locked in, bitterly cold conditions. And if we look at the new snowlet spikes, which I said will be very inaccurate, you can see frequent snowlet spikes. Again, none of them really agreeing at all, which just shows you the uncertainty with the wintriness around. But pretty much starting on the 8th and 9th of December and pretty much going all the way to the end of the run. As soon as we start to see a bit more agreement and positioning of little low pressure systems, little features, we'd start to see these move in more together. But at the moment, we're seeing a lot of scatter here, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And if we do finish, we'll have a look at the ECMWF on some members just to compare and look at the 850 HPA temperature and precipitation from the midnight run. You can see, again, pretty much locked in cold until around the 13th, 14th, 15th before it does start to rise. The majority keep us cold to maybe the 16th, 17th, but there are quite a few milder runs appearing from around the 13th, 14th, where we could start to break it down. But there's definitely been a trend of holding onto this colder spell, and it's slowly getting pushed back. It was maybe the 12th or 13th a couple of days ago, now it's the 14th, 15th, and I wouldn't be surprised if it gets pushed back to maybe the 16th, 17th. The walking won't continue forever. We will see a breakdown inevitably and eventually, but we could hold on all the way to sort of middle to the second half of December, and I wouldn't be surprised if this cold weather was potentially still around for the Christmas period. So yeah, it's very cold this week, potentially very wintry as well for some. Wintriness perhaps more widely towards the weekend and start of next week, when lower pressure systems start to push in and we see more widespread instability. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that. But the big thing I will say is the temperatures this week will be freezing, so please do take the necessary cautions, keep yourself warm, and hopefully everyone does stay safe out there from the cold, as it is really going to be cold out there. It's going to be freezing, proper Arctic conditions, proper locked in cold as well, and those overnight temperatures widely will be around that -5, if not lower. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Make sure you keep updated with the videos. We'll have more looks at the precipitation and snow charts over the course of the next couple of days, see what's going to be happening later this week into the weekend, and of course keep an eye on the weather warnings from the Met Office, as I'm sure they will be updating those over the course of the next couple of days as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoy, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.